The constant hum of machinery filled the cramped observation deck of the Horizon Galactic Industries mining station. Yun Park leaned forward, her eyes scanning the intricate holographic displays that mapped the complex network of asteroid mining operations. Something felt wrong. The numbers didn't add up. Her fingers danced across the control panel, pulling up maintenance logs from the past 6 months. Each swipe revealed another inconsistency. Worker safety reports were suspiciously clean, almost too perfect. In her 5 years as a senior aerospace engineer, Yun had learned that perfection often masked deeper problems. She zoomed in on a series of incident reports from Sector 7, a remote mining zone located in the outer asteroid belt. The official documentation showed minimal workplace accidents, just 2 minor injuries in 6 months. But Yun knew the dangerous nature of deep space mining. 2 injuries were statistically impossible. A notification popped up, another routine communication from the sector's management team. The message was standard, bland, filled with corporate jargon about productivity and efficiency. Yet something in the tone felt forced, artificial. Yun pulled up personnel records. The number of workers assigned to Sector 7 had gradually decreased over the past year. Replacements were processed quickly, with minimal documentation. Workers seemed to come and go like replaceable parts in a massive machine. Her fingers traced a data trail, connecting digital breadcrumbs that most would overlook. An encrypted file caught her attention. It was buried deep in the system, protected by multiple security layers. Most engineers would have moved on, but Yun's curiosity burned bright. Using her top-level access credentials, she began to decrypt the file. Lines of code unraveled, revealing the hidden report. Her breath caught in her throat. The document detailed multiple fatal accidents that had been completely erased from official records. 16 workers, 16 lives lost in accidents that were never reported. The causes ranged from equipment failure to atmospheric decompression. Each death was meticulously documented in this hidden file, yet completely absent from public records. Yun's hands trembled. This wasn't just a simple oversight. This was deliberate concealment. Horizon Galactic Industries wasn't just bending rules. They were wholesale destroying evidence of workplace fatalities to maintain their perfect safety record. She cross-referenced the hidden report with company communications, personnel transfers, and financial records. A pattern emerged. Each time a fatal accident occurred, the company would quickly replace the worker, pay off any potential family claims through complex legal maneuvers, and continue operations without interruption. The mining sector was brutal, competitive. Companies competed for contracts worth billions. A perfect safety record could mean the difference between winning or losing massive interstellar mining rights, and Horizon Galactic was willing to sacrifice human lives to maintain that record. Yun knew what she had to do, but she also understood the risks. Exposing this would mean challenging a powerful corporation with connections across multiple star systems. Her career, her future, her very safety would be on the line. She made a backup of the encrypted file, creating multiple secure copies in different systems. If something happened to her, the truth would still survive. Then she began compiling her evidence, creating a comprehensive report that would be impossible to ignore. Outside the observation deck's reinforced window, asteroid fragments drifted silently against the backdrop of endless space. Each piece of rock told a story of immense pressure, of survival against impossible odds. Much like the workers whose lives had been casually erased. Yun Park wasn't just an engineer anymore. She was becoming a witness, a voice for those who had been silenced. And she was ready to fight. Her next move would change everything. The small coffee shop buzzed with quiet conversation. Yun sat across from Woo Kim, her carefully organized file of evidence spread between them. Steam rose from 2 untouched cups of coffee, forgotten as Woo studied the documents. "These are serious allegations," Woo said, his voice low and measured. He was a labor rights attorney known for taking impossible cases, for fighting when others would surrender. Yun understood the risk. One wrong move could destroy her entire career. Corporate lawyers were ruthless, and Horizon Galactic had resources that could crush most legal challenges before they even began. "I have everything documented," she replied. Her fingers traced the digital records, each file a potential weapon against corporate negligence. 16 workers, 16 lives erased from official history. Wu began asking detailed questions. Where were the original reports? How could she prove the company intentionally hid these accidents? Corporate legal teams were masters of misdirection, turning complex evidence into confusing narratives. They spent hours reviewing each piece of information: work schedules, communication logs, equipment maintenance records. Everything needed to be perfect. One small mistake could give Horizon Galactic a chance to discredit the entire case. The coffee grew cold. Outside, the city moved around them, people rushing through their daily lives, unaware of the battle being prepared in this quiet corner of a small cafe. Wu contacted his network of investigators. They would need independent verification of Ian's findings. Each piece of evidence required multiple sources, multiple confirmations. The legal battle would be a complex chess match where one wrong move could mean total defeat. Former workers from Sector 7 became critical to their strategy. Some were reluctant, afraid of corporate retaliation. Others were angry, wanting justice for lost colleagues. Slowly, a network of witnesses began to form. One former maintenance worker, a man named Jai, provided crucial testimony. He described safety equipment deliberately kept in poor condition, warning systems that were deliberately miscalibrated. His statement would be a powerful addition to their case. Undiscovered more than just safety violations. There was a systematic approach to hiding worker deaths. Each incident was carefully managed, with compensation packages designed to silence families quickly and efficiently. Financial records revealed a disturbing pattern. The company had a special fund dedicated to what they internally called workforce management, a sterile term that masked the true nature of their actions. Wu began preparing legal documents. Each paragraph was carefully constructed, each claim backed by multiple pieces of evidence. They were building more than a lawsuit. They were constructing a comprehensive exposure of corporate misconduct. The risk was enormous. Horizon Galactic could easily destroy their careers, use their financial power to crush the lawsuit before it even reached a courtroom. But Ian and Wu understood something important. Sometimes fighting was more important than winning. Weeks turned into months. Evidence was collected, verified, cross-referenced. They worked in small, secure locations, always aware that corporate spies could be watching. Every communication was encrypted, every meeting carefully planned. "We're ready," Wu said one evening, looking at the completed case file. Thousands of pages of documentation, hundreds of witness statements, a complete picture of corporate negligence. Ian felt a mix of fear and determination. This wasn't just about her anymore. This was about those 16 workers. This was about every worker who might become a future statistic in some corporate report. The Interplanetary Labor Tribunal would soon receive their case, a legal challenge that could change everything about how corporations treated human workers in deep space. One file, one moment, the potential to change an entire system. Their fight was just beginning. The Interplanetary Labor Tribunal courtroom felt cold and sterile. Massive holographic screens displayed complex data streams, while representatives from Horizon Galactic Industries sat confidently on the opposite side. Ian watched their lead lawyer, a woman with perfectly pressed suit and calculated smile. She knew this wouldn't be an easy battle. Corporate lawyers were trained to destroy cases like hers before they could even begin. Wu stood first, presenting their initial arguments. His voice was calm, methodical, presenting each piece of evidence with surgical precision. 16 dead workers, systematic cover-ups, deliberate safety violations that went beyond simple negligence. The corporate legal team immediately began their counterattack. They challenged every document, questioned every witness's credibility. Their strategy was clear: create doubt, muddy the waters, make the truth seem uncertain. "These are serious accusations," their lead lawyer stated, her voice smooth and controlled. "My client maintains that all safety protocols were followed according to interstellar workplace regulations. But Yun and Wu were prepared. They had anticipated every possible legal maneuver. Each challenge was met with additional documentation, each argument countered with irrefutable evidence. Zhe, the former maintenance worker, provided devastating testimony. He described how safety systems were deliberately kept in poor condition, how warning mechanisms were intentionally miscalibrated. His hand shook slightly as he spoke, but his words remained clear and powerful. The tribunal judges listened carefully. They were experienced professionals who had seen countless corporate legal battles. But this case was different. The evidence was overwhelming, the documentation precise. Horizon Galactic's lawyers tried multiple strategies. They attempted to discredit Un's professional reputation. They suggested her findings were exaggerated. They implied she was a disgruntled employee seeking revenge. But each attempt failed. Yun's professional record was impeccable. Her documentation was flawless. Every claim was backed by multiple sources, every statement supported by verifiable evidence. The case became more than just a legal battle. It transformed into a public spectacle. Media outlets across different star systems began covering the story. Workers from various corporations watched closely, understanding that this case could change everything. Wu presented financial records that showed the company's systematic approach to hiding worker deaths, a special fund designed to quickly compensate and silence families. Detailed spreadsheets that showed human lives reduced to financial calculations. Days turned into weeks. The legal confrontation became a marathon of evidence, arguments, and counter-arguments, each side fighting for their version of the truth. Horizon Galactic's reputation was on the line. If they lost, it would mean more than just financial penalties. It would expose a system of corporate misconduct that had existed for years. Yun remained calm throughout the proceedings. She understood that this was bigger than her personal career. This was about workers' rights. This was about holding corporations accountable for human lives. The tribunal judges asked difficult questions. They challenged both sides, seeking clarity in a complex legal landscape. Every statement was scrutinized, every piece of evidence examined with microscopic precision. As the legal confrontation continued, something became clear. This was no longer just a lawsuit. This was a battle for the soul of interstellar workplace regulations. Horizon Galactic's lawyers began to look less confident. Their perfectly prepared arguments started to crack under the weight of overwhelming evidence. Their calculated smiles slowly disappeared, replaced by looks of growing concern. Wu's final arguments were a masterpiece of legal strategy. He didn't just present a case. He told a story of human lives, of workers who had been reduced to statistics, of a corporate system that valued profit over human dignity. The courtroom grew silent. Everyone understood that something significant was happening. This was more than a legal battle. This was a moment that could change how corporations treated workers across multiple star systems. The tribunal was ready to make its decision. Years of corporate protection were about to be challenged. One case, one moment, the potential to change everything. During a routine evidence review, Wu discovered something unexpected. Hidden deep within Horizon Galactic's financial records was a connection that went far beyond simple workplace negligence. The document was encrypted, buried beneath layers of complex financial transactions. Most lawyers would have overlooked it, but Wu's meticulous nature drove him to investigate further. What he found was shocking. Horizon Galactic wasn't just cutting corners on worker safety. They were part of a larger network of corporations systematically exploiting human workers across multiple star systems. The scale was massive. Dozens of companies working together to minimize worker protections and maximize profits. Yun helped decode the complex financial trail. Each transaction seemed innocent on its own, but when connected, they revealed a disturbing pattern. Workers were being treated as disposable resources, their lives reduced to economic calculations. They discovered a secret agreement between 5 major interstellar corporations. These companies had been sharing strategies to avoid worker protection laws, developing sophisticated methods to hide workplace accidents and minimize compensation. The evidence was explosive. This wasn't just about Horizon Galactic anymore. This was a systematic approach to human exploitation that stretched across entire star systems. Wu contacted investigative journalists, carefully sharing selected pieces of information. They needed to build public pressure to ensure the full story would be revealed. Each piece of information was like a carefully placed domino, waiting to trigger a massive collapse. The original lawsuit had been about 16 workers. Now it was becoming something much larger, a potential exposure of a corporate system that had been operating in the shadows for years. Em found herself both excited and terrified. They had uncovered something much bigger than they'd initially imagined. This was no longer just a legal battle. This was a potential revolution in worker rights. Corporate communication logs revealed secret meetings, coded conversations that showed a coordinated effort to minimize human worker protections. Algorithms designed to predict and prevent worker compensation claims. Systems that treated human lives as mathematical problems to be solved. One particular document caught their attention, a confidential report discussing the economic efficiency of human workforce management. Cold, clinical language that stripped away any human consideration. Workers were described as resource units with calculated replacement costs. The discoveries went beyond simple negligence. This was a coordinated strategy of human exploitation. Companies had created an entire system designed to maximize corporate profits while minimizing human value. Wu began preparing additional legal documents. This was no longer just a lawsuit against one company. This was becoming a comprehensive challenge to an entire corporate system. Investigative teams started reaching out. Other workers from different companies began sharing similar stories. A network of hidden experiences started to emerge, connecting dots that had previously seemed unrelated. The potential impact was enormous. If they could prove this systematic approach to worker exploitation, it could change interstellar labor regulations forever. What started as a case about 16 workers was becoming a potential turning point for human rights. Un understood the risk. By exposing this network, they would make powerful enemies. Corporate interests would push back hard. Their personal and professional lives would be under constant threat. But they had evidence, solid, irrefutable documentation that showed a coordinated effort to minimize human worker protections. Each document was a weapon, each piece of evidence a potential game changer. The legal world waited with anticipation. Rumors about their discoveries began to spread. Workers across different star systems started to hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could change. Wu looked at Yun, a mix of excitement and concern in his eyes. "We're not just fighting one company anymore," he said quietly. "We're challenging an entire system." Yun nodded. The original lawsuit had been about 16 workers. Now it was about something much larger, a fight for human dignity, a battle against a corporate system that had forgotten the value of human life. Their next move would change everything. The final day of the tribunal arrived with intense anticipation. The courtroom felt electric, packed with workers, journalists, and corporate representatives from across different star systems. Wu presented their final arguments with calculated precision. The evidence they had uncovered was more than just a lawsuit. It was a comprehensive exposure of systematic corporate misconduct. 16 workers had died, but the impact would save thousands more. The tribunal judges listened carefully. Holographic displays showed complex networks of corporate interactions, financial transactions, and hidden communication logs. Each piece of evidence told a story of deliberate worker exploitation. Horizon Galactic's legal team looked defeated. Their perfectly prepared defenses had crumbled under the weight of overwhelming documentation. What had started as a confident challenge had become a complete collapse. The lead corporate lawyer made one final attempt to challenge the evidence, but her arguments sounded hollow, desperate. Years of corporate manipulation were being exposed in real time. When the tribunal's verdict was announced, the courtroom erupted. Horizon Galactic was found guilty of multiple violations. The penalties were unprecedented: massive financial compensations, complete restructuring of their corporate practices, and criminal investigations into senior management. But the victory was bigger than just one company. The tribunal's ruling would impact worker protections across multiple star systems. Companies would now be required to implement strict safety protocols, maintain transparent reporting, and face severe consequences for workplace violations. Ian watched as the verdict was delivered. She thought about the 16 workers whose lives had been reduced to statistics. They were more than just numbers now. They were the reason for this massive change. Media outlets across different planets began reporting the story. Workers from various corporations celebrated. What seemed impossible just months ago had become reality. One lawsuit had exposed a system of corporate exploitation. The financial impact was massive. Horizon Galactic's stock prices collapsed. Other corporations began emergency meetings, understanding that their own practices would now be under intense scrutiny. Wu approached Ian after the verdict. "We did it," he said simply. But they both understood this was more than a personal victory. This was a victory for every worker who had been treated as a disposable resource. Compensation funds were established for the families of workers who had died. Each family would receive not just financial support, but official recognition of their loss. The 16 workers would be remembered, not forgotten. Regulatory bodies began implementing new protection mechanisms. Mandatory safety reporting, independent investigation teams, and severe penalties for corporate misconduct became standard across industries. Gun became a symbol of resistance. Workers from different star systems began sharing her story. She represented something powerful: the idea that one person could challenge an entire system and win. The legal victory went beyond monetary compensation. It represented a fundamental shift in how corporations viewed human workers. No longer could human lives be reduced to economic calculations. Investigations continued. The network of corporate misconduct they had exposed would take years to fully unravel, but the first and most important step had been taken. During a press conference, Ian spoke about the importance of worker rights. Her voice was calm but powerful. She wasn't just speaking about a legal victory. She was speaking about human dignity. Wu watched proudly. Their journey had been difficult, filled with risks and challenges, but they had achieved something remarkable. They had changed the system. The 16 workers who had died would not be forgotten. Their story had become a catalyst for massive change, a reminder that human lives are not just resources to be managed, but precious and valuable. As they left the courthouse, the city seemed different. Workers looked at each other with newfound hope. Something fundamental had changed. Justice had triumphed, not through violence or revenge, but through careful documentation, persistent effort, and an unwavering commitment to human dignity. One lawsuit, 16 workers, thousands of lives changed forever.